Hello and welcome back to The Drag Detective, where today we are going to be talking about something that is on every single season of Drag Race, but when you put it all together in a big picture, I think it's a big way to look at the riggory of the show throughout the years. And especially this last episode of UK4 really got me thinking about team challenges, how they're judged, and really looking at the inconsistencies over the years of how they are judged, whether that be individually, whether that be judged in teams. We're going to go over every single, well, almost, team-based challenge from Drag Race seasons that have RuPaul as the host. So with that, let's start out with the very first team challenges ever on season 1. We actually only have one, and it is also the first ever girl group challenge where the queens had to break up into two groups with Akasha and Angina as the two team captains, and they have to basically put on together a lip sync performance of a Destiny's Child song. So this one is very integral into looking at how team challenges are judged, because this is really the blueprint. So in this case, it is judged in teams where we have Angina, her team being the winning team, with then Angina as the team captain getting the actual win. And then Akasha's group is the bottom group, where then Akasha herself as the team captain and Tammy Brown lip sync for their lives in the bottom two. And this is really important, I think, because we see how much emphasis is given on the team captains. Now, this by no means is going to be consistent throughout the years, but it's just an interesting thing to look at, that the very first group challenge in Drag Race, this is how it was set up. And if we pop over to season 2, we're going to get pretty much the same thing with the Star Booty challenge, which was basically just them being strippers. Kind of an interesting one. But we have Sahara Davenport and Pandora Box as the two team captains, with Sahara's group getting the most money or whatever and being the winning team of the challenge. But then Sahara as the team captain, rest in peace, she actually gets the win. But in this case, we don't see the other team captain of the losing team, Pandora, end up in the bottom two, because she actually does a pretty good job in this challenge. It's not a challenge you would expect Pandora to do well in, but she made it work for her. In this case, we actually see Raven and Nicole Paige Brooks end up in the bottom two, simply because they had the worst performances of the week. So while the one team captain was rewarded for being on the winning team, the other team captain was not punished simply for being the team captain on the losing team. We also have another group challenge on season 2, and this is the acting challenge, where the two teams split up and both act in their own kind of like country commercial thing. So we have the team captains of Morgan McMichaels and Mystique Summers Madison. And this one is not actually judged in teams. This is the first ever team challenge that is judged individually. And I think in this case, it's because this isn't necessarily a challenge where they're all working together. It's an acting challenge. So each person is kind of on their own, doing their own thing. So we're going to see this kind of happen a lot, where there's going to be a group challenge, but they're not going to be judged as groups. This one is the blueprint. And while one of the team captains, Morgan McMichaels, is safe, the other one, Mystique Summers Madison, does end up in the bottom two and sent home. So we still are kind of seeing the captain roles as kind of integral into the judging of the challenge. If you do a good job, you could win. If you do a bad job, you're going home. And we can kind of see this again in season 3, which has a couple group challenges. The first one being the acting challenge. Just like the acting challenge from season 2, they split off into two groups, do two different scenes. But in this case, it is judged as a team. And I think it's very simple. This team is just better. We're going to see that in any case where one team in particular does better overall than the other team, they will judge it as a team. But if they're a little bit more even, in that case, they will judge it individually. And in this case, we have the iconic performance of Alexis, Mateo, and Shangela, and they both get the win here, despite neither of them being the team captain. So this one is kind of a little bit different. We see they're just giving the win to whoever does the best, not necessarily who is like the winning captain. And again, on the other end, the losing team, their team captain was Phoenix, and Phoenix is put in the bottom two and eliminated. We're getting a little bit of a pattern forming, but they're also already starting to deviate from it a little bit when there's a better option or an option that makes more sense to go for instead. So we have two more group challenges on season 3, but neither of them are judged in teams. And the only other time we really see anything of note in season 3 is when Stacey Lane Matthews is put into the bottom 2 for the morning show challenge. She was her team's captain, but she actually kind of breaks the curse and doesn't go home. She stays. Season 4, we have a couple team challenges. The first one is one of my favorite challenges of all time. The wrestling challenge it's completely unhinged. We see that Chad Michaels is the team captain for her team. Her team is given the win as like, your guys are the best team of the week. And then Chad Michaels shares the win with Madame LeQueer. And then the other teams are kind of just judged completely randomly. So we have one team all in the top, but then the bottoms kind of come from both other teams. And this is the first instance where we have more than 2 teams. So this is kind of the first time we've seen this specific setup where one team, you're all in the top, you're safe, go off the stage. The other 2 teams now, all of you are up for elimination, and who we choose to be in the bottom 2 doesn't necessarily have to be from the same team, because we have the Princess and LaShawn Beyond, who were on different teams, end up in the bottom 2 together. Then we have a couple more team challenges. Really nothing of note here except for the last one of the season, which is the stand-up challenge. And this one is going to be kind of something we see pop up a lot, where we have duos. So these aren't, large teams. The queens team up as a pair, and then those pairs are judged as teams. So you have Willem and Latrice, who both win the challenge as a team. You have Chad and Dita Ritz, who are safe. And then you have the bottom 2, who are the team of the artist formerly known as Fifi O'Hara and the spooky one. So while this time they are judged fully in teams, we might not always see it to be that way. So I promise you we're going to be getting into some tea, but these early ones, there's just not a ton of Riggory to discuss. Season 5 has a couple group challenges, kind of the same thing we've seen. So we're going to skip over to Season 6, where we see a little bit of Riggory seeping into the judging of these challenges. So let's talk about the first team challenge of the season. We have the acting challenge. We have 2 groups, each doing a different style horror movie, and Team Milk, who is the team captain, is considered the winning team. But since Darian Lake had the best performance, she is then given the win over Milk as the team captain. So for the other team, there's kind of some inconsistencies, specifically around Adore Delano. So Adore was the other team captain. Obviously, in an acting challenge, there's a lot of stuff you need to get together to make sure your team is gonna kind of have an easy ride in the filming of it. And Adore, I think, dropped the ball. Her teammates say she dropped the ball. The judges say she dropped the ball, both in her leading ability and in her performance. But then when it comes time to pick the bottom 2, Adore is not put in the bottom. Instead, it is April Carrion and Vivacious, neither of whom had a great performance in the challenge. But April Carrion in specific is kind of given somewhat of a pass in her critiques because the judges say she was miscast by Adore in this role. So you would think, okay, so Adore really let her team down. She might be part of the reason why April was struggling so hard with this role. Adore should probably be in the bottom. And then we see she's not. And this is the first inconsistency, because any single time we have ever seen a losing team captain struggle with being a leader, or maybe not bring enough to their leader role, they are thrown into the bottom and usually sent back in. And in this case, Adore gets spared. And we're going to kind of see later on in the season, we have a couple more group challenges that are judged individually. But then we have the Glamazon commercial challenge, where the queens team up in pairs. And again, the pairs are judged as teams, just like they were on season 4. And in this case, we have one of the first ever, and I think one of the only ever, instances where Michelle Visage fully disagrees with RuPaul's judgment calls, where RuPaul gives the win to Adore and Laganja, and Michelle and a lot of people watching at home felt like it should have gone to Trinity and Bianca. And there's another thing I really wanted to discuss about this challenge, which is interesting, is the way that the teams are divvied up are fully based on what is going to make the best TV. We see the girls are paired with people they don't necessarily get along with, or they already have an ongoing storyline with. And especially, this is not the Riggory of season 6 yet, but looking at who was 9th place, the queen who went home right before this episode, was Milk, who, certain people think maybe didn't deserve to go home that episode. Well, then you look here where they're all teamed up with queens to have a storyline with, and, well, Milk really didn't have a storyline at that point with anyone. The one she would have had is with Gia Gunn, and at that point Gia Gunn was gone. So it makes sense that Milk goes home, and now we have 8 queens who each have someone easily pairable with to make a good storyline in this episode. We have Bianca and Trinity, who, Bianca up to this point really has not respected Trinity, really just doesn't see what she's bringing to the competition. She's been annoyed with her whining and her complaining. We have Adore and Laganja, who were friends coming into the competition, but because of Laganja's antics on the show, Adore kind of doesn't know who she is, and she thinks she's being fake, so there's some tension. We also have Jocelyn and Courtney, and they have a really interesting dynamic because Jocelyn is a huge fan of Courtney, but Courtney kind of dogs on Jocelyn and tries putting her down and really just doesn't respect her as a fellow queen. And then, of course, we have BenDeLaCreme and Darian Lake, who are kind of the rivals of the season. They just don't get along. They are constantly having little tiffs in the workroom. So this challenge makes them all work together. And we see the team that is in the bottom 2, Darian and BenDeLaCreme, don't work well together and are kind of punished for it by being put in the bottom. Then we have Adore and Laganja and Bianca and Trinity, who are the top 2 teams, and they're the ones that actually, set aside their differences and do the task at hand and work well together. So this is, I think, just a really interesting team challenge to look at, because we're going to see this a lot moving forward, where girls are paired up or put into teams with people that they don't necessarily get along with because they know it's going to make the best TV. Let's talk about season 7. And this is just wild to me. There are 7 team challenges on season 7. And that is like more than half of the competitive episodes. It's way too much. I don't know why they did this, but we get all kinds of stuff across the board when it comes to the judging of these challenges. So let's start off with Glamazonian Airways, where we have it judged individually, sort of. We have Team Ginger Minge and we have Team Trixie Mattel, and they both kind of have their own little parts of this rusical, but it's also sort of a group number where they're all together. It's a little bit weird. We see Ginger Minge is the winner of the challenge, and she was also her team captain. And then Trixie Mattel, who, again, I don't think this is one where there's one team that's amazing and one team that's bad. I think there were good and bad on both sides, which is why it was judged individually. But because of that, we don't see Trixie Mattel get punished or thrown in the bottom or anything. She's just safe. And then we just see tops and bottoms kind of from both teams just based on who did well. The next challenge is a great example of a team doing really well and a team flopping. probably the best example, which is the Shakespeare acting challenge, where we see Team Max pretty much slay the challenge. I mean, Jaden has a couple of issues during filming, but her team is supportive. They all rally around her, and they get a really good scene done. The other team is Team Kennedy Davenport, and they have issue after issue after issue. It is maybe the biggest train wreck, or at least group train wreck of all time on Drag Race. And because of it, Kennedy Davenport is put into the bottom as team captain next to Jasmine Masters, who is kind of giving up in the competition at this point. And then on the other side, everyone on Max's team is in the top, and Max, for her good leadership and really cool runway, is given the win. Then we have a challenge that I'm excited to do Riggory of Season 7, and we might just do this one next because I don't think Season 8 is that rigged. To me, Season 7 is the next season that's, like, extremely rigged in my opinion. We have the Spoof Challenge. It's a cute idea. I just don't think that the queens necessarily delivered. And this is a challenge where I would think it would be judged in teams because everyone is putting their ideas together into one idea, one concept, one vision, but they're all doing the same exact thing that they all helped make. It really reminds me of the side hustles from All Star 6 with the Fix It Bitch team being the best. They're all on the top. And then the Rent-A-Queen group, I think they're called, were the worst team and they were thrown in the bottom. It's the same dynamic. This one I think should have been judged in teams, but it's not. So we have basically the top queen from each group get praise from RuPaul. So she says, Kennedy Davenport, you were the best on your team. Katya, you were the best on your team. Jaden Dior Fierce, you were the best on your team and should have won this challenge. But the rest of you are up for elimination. We get Trixie and Pearl, who were both from the same group, end up in the bottom two, and then we know Trixie goes home for no reason. So this one is kind of weird. It's kind of an outlier. Maybe they didn't judge it in teams because no team was really solid across the board. I think you could have given it to Team Jaden and just had Jaden win with Violet and Max in the top, and then the Tan With You girls maybe all in the bottom four. You would have had the same bottom two. I don't know. That seems to make more sense to me, but that is not what happened. Next, we have another challenge where the girls are paired in duos, and this one is not really judged in duos. You have a winning duo of Pearl and Max. They both win the challenge, but then everyone else is judged individually. It's kind of confusing. Candy Ho and Mrs. Kasha Davis in the bottom two. They were from different groups. So this one is kind of both individually and in groups. Again, kind of some weird judging. Then you have the Merle Ginsburg acting challenge, the Rue Hollywood Stories. This one is judged fully in teams. And for an acting challenge, I think that's a little bit weird because not everyone has the same whatever. Ginger wins. Her team is in the top. Moving on to the John Waters challenge, another acting challenge, but this one is instead judged individually despite them being in pairs. And then you have the dancing challenge, which they are judged in pairs. Season 7 is whack. I really don't want to get into it too much because this video is going to be coming very soon. So look out for the Riggory of Season 7. Season 8, I really don't have much to comment on any of these challenges. Challenges where they really have to put their brains together to make the thing work, those are judged in teams. We have the New Wave Challenge. We have the political ads. Really don't have anything to discuss. And I really don't have anything to discuss for Season 9 either. So let's just talk about Season 10. So we have the Rusical, which is teams kind of like the Glamazonian Airways, where it's one big musical, but there's two teams separately doing things. And unlike Glamazonian Airways, which was judged individually, Farmer Rusical is judged in teams. We have Team Vixen winning the challenge, and Vixen, who was the team captain, then gets the actual solo win. And then Asia O'Hara, who was the team captain on the other team, isn't put into the bottom. Instead, just the two worst performing on that team lip sync for their lives. Then we have some challenges that are judged individually, the Tap That App and the Bossy Rossi. But I want to talk about the Drag Con. This is one that I think maybe on paper wouldn't be judged in teams. Then when you actually watch it, it makes sense as to why this was judged in teams, because you have Team Eureka, who also has Monet and Cameron Michaels on it, doing an amazing job. And then you have the Team Vixen, who also has Cracker and Blair on it, who really don't do a good job. So this is kind of an example where it's like, maybe I wouldn't have judged this in teams if it went differently, but because of the performances from the queens themselves and the teams separately, it makes sense. Season 11, one of the most rigged seasons of Drag Race, in my humble opinion. Let's talk about the Diva Worship Challenge, where they split off into teams where they have to basically do a 700 club, but make it Mariah Carey. And specifically the Mariah Carey team all do bad, and so the entire team is put into the bottom. Even if there were queens like Sugarcane or Akira who weren't terrible, they weren't amazing, but they weren't terrible, they all had to lip sync for their lives as the losing team, which is still something we have never seen happen again, and I don't necessarily think was fully deserved when there was such a clear bottom two of Raja and Honey Davenport. So this one I think was judged like that simply for the shock factor. When you have a team who really does that bad, having them all be put into the bottom and having a 6-way lip sync is a gaggy moment. Now, I don't think it was received like the producers expected it to be, but I think that's what they were going for. And then on the other end, we have Nina West, who is the team captain, winning the challenge. And that decision is also kind of controversial because a lot of people think Vanjie should have won. But I do think there's something to be said about Nina West as a leader when the other team was literally falling apart into pieces, yet Nina really managed to make everything come together super well. So I don't think Nina West winning is necessarily rigged. I think that Vanjie winning wouldn't have been rigged, but I do think putting the entire other team in the bottom 6 was rigged. Then we have the Drag Olympic Challenge, which was judged in teams, which was a little bit weird, but I guess one team did do better, so it makes sense. We have the iconically bad Drag Cadaver Challenge, which is, to me, one of the, I would say, top 3 most blatant rigged moments of the show's history, where we have 7 queens left. One of them is less entertaining than the other 6, and even though I think she did a good job and she was on the good team, we're going to put her in the bottom. And this one is just really interesting to look at because you have one team, which is Nina West, Brooklyn Heights, and Sugarcane, who do an amazing job. They have good chemistry, they have good jokes, everything is going really, really well and smooth. And then you have the other team, which has Evie Oddly, Akira, Chanel Davenport, Silky Nutmeg Ganache, and Miss Vanjie. And they are a mess. I mean, jokes aren't landing, things are going wrong, it's weird, the vibe is not there. 84 of them could have been in the bottom, and I think it would have been justified. But instead, they take what could have been a very easily judged in teams challenge and instead throw Sugarcane from what would be the winning team into the bottom simply to save the other 4 really entertaining queens from the other team. So, rigged. Season 12 is also really, really weird because we have one group challenge and it is rigged to high hell. It is the world's worst challenge, which is basically just like American Idol. And this one I think would have worked. This challenge would have worked if you had let the queens do their own thing. If they each got to go in one by one and do an audition that is comically bad and let them just do whatever they want. That could have been funny. We could have seen some really, really cool things. But because they had their hands tied with these certain exact props that they had to meet, which weren't good. I mean, I think that you have Team Heidi, Jackie, and Gigi with the best of all of them, but the other 2 prompts for the other 2 groups are terrible, and I don't know how you make those funny at all. This one 1000% should have been judged in teams because Team Heidi, who is so good, so funny, They really just knock it out of the park. And especially Heidi could have been the winner of this challenge, and it would have made so much sense. But instead, you get the pie one winning when she was what I consider the worst on her team. I mean, no. I mean, her team could have been in the bottom. The other team could have been in the bottom. I think this was fully judged completely wrong as teams. For season 13, I think that we could skip over most of it. The discomentary was definitely rigged in judging for sure, but I don't necessarily think the way that it was judged like individually instead of in teams was the part that was rigged. I do want to mention the makeover challenge because this was a very special makeover challenge. We don't usually get to see the queens making over the other queens in the competition. I think this was the third time ever. But this time they were put into teams based on who had like basically the opposite kind of drag style and how they could then adapt to the other queen's drag. It was really interesting. I think it was a really good challenge. This one had a lot of controversy because you had Tina Burner, who did a number on Rosé, but was saved because Rosé did a pretty solid job on Tina. And instead, we have Olivia and Denali in the bottom two, where I think Denali didn't do great. I think Olivia didn't do great. But I think of everyone in this episode, Tina did the worst. And just the fact that Tina wasn't in the bottom because it was kept judged in teams had people upset. Season 14, everything is judged individually, but I want to specifically look at two of the challenges. First, the girl group challenge. This one was very upsetting because I think this episode could have been judged like the girl group challenges in the UK, where we haven't hit UK yet, but there's always one winning team and one losing team. And here in this episode, there was one team that was above and beyond the two others, and that was Team Diabetes, Willow Pill, and Bosco. They took a prompt of let's do a 60s girl group, but they made it into something theirs. I mean, it was so weird. It was so funny. And of the three songs, this is the only one I would ever listen to. And, you know, on the other two teams, you had Deja Skye and Angeria Paris Van Michaels, who both did really well. But then you had other queens who, basically everyone else, who just didn't have a good performance. So I think this fully could have been a triple win for Dia and Bosco and Willow. And then just pick, you know, which one of the other teams you thought was the worst and put two of them in the bottom. It could have been Carrie and Camden. It could have been Jasmine and Georges. Whichever one you dislike more, put in the bottom, and I think that makes a lot more sense than just like picking people from each group when there was very clearly one group that dominated. And then we also have the DragCon challenge, where this one left a bad taste in people's mouths, I think because of the optics. Because you have Deja Skye and you have Bosco, who are the not unofficial team captains of this challenge. They are the ones that are the moderators of their group. So they are in charge of making sure everyone gets their moments to talk. They're in charge of letting the conversations flow naturally, making sure they hit all the points. They are the leaders of this challenge. And in one case, you had Deja Skye, who I think was a perfect moderator. She let everybody talk. She kept the conversation flowing. She made sure that everyone had their moment to shine. But then on the other team, you have Bosco, who is great as a solo. She had so many jokes. She had so many moments. But I'm not sure that she let her team shine as much as she could have. The conversations were a little weird. Her teammates were all struggling. And then you just have Bosco with a one-liner every 5 seconds, which is funny. But when the rest of your team is struggling, it didn't seem like she was doing much to try and help them. So when Bosco wins, it's kind of like, ugh. But really, Deja's team all did great. They were all good. They easily could have been the top 4 and give Deja Skye the win. Whereas giving it to Bosco when her other 3 team members were struggling Diabetes to a much lesser extent. I think she did mostly good. But when she's very clearly having people struggling and didn't seem like was doing enough to bring them back or to try and help them out, it just left a bad taste in people's mouths. Now, luckily, Deja Skye got her win the very next episode, but I think this could have been a really great moment for Deja to get some back-to-back wins. So that is all of the regular seasons of American Drag Race. Let's look at All-Stars and then a couple international seasons. We're going to skip All-Stars 1 because everything's a group challenge. All-Stars 2, we have one group challenge. It is the Shequels. We have the stand-up, but that one's a little bit different because there's queens that are in the competition, there's queens that are out of the competition. So let's just talk about the Shequels. This one, again, I don't think it could have been judged in teams because there were so many discrepancies in who was doing well and who was doing bad. You had Jeremy and Roxy on one team where Jeremy was slaying and Roxy was, not doing super well. The same thing happened on Alaska's team where Alyssa was really struggling and Alaska was doing well. And then you have Detox and Katya, who were both solid. But this one made sense to kind of break up and judge individually. All-Stars 3, we have the Bachelor and we have the girl groups, but those are kind of group challenges, but there's weird things involved. We're just not going to talk about them. Let's talk about All-Stars 4. We have the girl group challenge, which is judged individually. Again, I think this one makes sense because there was people that were doing great and also people that were struggling on both sides. But in this case, we get Monique Hart, who was kind of thrown under the bus as the team captain, when I think there was plenty of other queens that could have been in that bottom 2 spot other than her. Gia Gunn, Manila was worse than her, but we really get an emphasis on, you're the team captain, you had issues, you're going to be in the bottom. Then we have the club challenge, and I just want to talk about this because mostly I want to talk about it when it comes back on All-Stars 5. So in this instance, we have 3 groups of queens who are making their own clubs. And this one is fully judged in teams, which makes sense because they did everything as a team. The conceptualizing of it, the creation of it, everything was done as a unit. And it's judged that way. So then when we go to All-Stars 5 and we have this challenge again with the hotels, it makes no sense when it is not judged as teams. This one is judged individually. And I think they wanted to, save queens like Cracker, punish queens like India. This one is fully one of those instances where it should have been judged in teams, but it wasn't because of Riggory. We also have the SheMZ challenge, which, again, I think this one is fully rigged. But this one is difficult to see if it should be judged individually or if it should be judged in teams because you have one team, which is Cracker and Juju and Blair, and Cracker and Juju are absolutely killing it, but Blair is furniture in the scene. She really does nothing. So they would be the winning team, but Blair really dragged them down. Then you have Shay and Alexis, who were safe. They were fine. And then you have India and Mayhem, who I still don't think did a bad job in this challenge at all, but they're put in the bottom 2 and kind of your team was the worst, you're both in the bottom. But it wasn't judged as teams for the tops, so it just felt a little bit weird, especially when I think there was way more justification to put India in the bottom over Mayhem. Yes, the Mayhem. Of course, if we're bringing up Mayhem Miller, you know that I'm going to be talking about how her elimination was rigged. All-Stars 6, it is 2 group challenges. One, I think, was judged perfectly, and one was judged crazily. You have the side hustles, which this one is just very clearly one team did super well and one team really struggled, and so it's judged in teams. But then for the pink table talks, where there was one team that really, really did well and one team that really struggled, instead you get kind of just this random judging where they say, Team Eureka and Akira and Trinity, you were the best team, you did the best, but we're going to give the win to someone from the worst team, which is just it's cracked. I've talked about this plenty in, my myriad of All-Star 6 videos, so go watch those if you want me to go deeper into that. Now, let's talk about UK. We really can skip the first couple seasons. We have kind of set the precedent for the girl group challenges here, where there's always a winning team and always a losing team. Let's talk about the Drag Lexa challenge. We could talk about the Dragathon too, but honestly, I talked about it in the Riggory video, and I don't even want to revisit. So let's just talk about the Drag Lexa challenge, because this is one of the most infuriating episodes of Drag Race. Because to me, there was a team that very clearly was great, and then a team that very clearly was not. You had Team Crystal and Team Scarlet. Team Crystal, they did good. Team Scarlet did not do well. But what was consistent from both of these teams is that the team leaders, the team captains, did not do a great job at their duties. Where you have Crystal, who really wasn't standing up or doing what needed to be done. So Charity Case literally took over the role just so that things got done. And what they ended up with was a pretty good commercial. But it wasn't due to the team captain. It was due to another queen who had to step in just to make sure that things got done. And then on the other team, you have Scarlet Harlot, who is just not, she's just not being a good leader. And so then when it comes time to the critiques, this very clearly could have been an instant where Team Crystal, you are the winning team. And because you stood out this week, you had a wonderful runway, you did such a good job, River Medway, you are the winner of this week's challenge. You are all safe. Please leave the stage. Team Scarlet Harlot, you guys struggled. Kitty and Ella, you did a good job. So Theresa May and Scarlet Harlot, you will be in the bottom two. Makes sense. Or if they really hated both commercials and they really thought both of them sucked, River Medway, you still did the best. Congratulations, you're the winner of this week's challenge. Crystal Versace and Scarlet Harlot, as the two team captains, neither of you were able to fulfill your duties and create a solid commercial. I'm sorry, my dears, you're up for elimination. What we got instead, and again, I've talked about this in the Riggory of UK3, I've talked about this in the Charity Case video I did, the mistreatment of Charity Case. They put Charity Case in the bottom and say, well, because you took over as captain and we didn't like your commercial, you are at fault. Even though she only had to take over because their original captain wasn't fulfilling their duties. This episode is a mess, one of my least favorite episodes of all time, and to me, it really derails the season for a long time. It does pick back up at the end, but this episode here just really left a bad taste in my mouth. And so now, let's talk about where we're at in UK4. We've had 2 group challenges so far. The first one is the Girl Groups Challenge, which is kind of controversial. And I have conflicting thoughts about this. So, one thing, this Girl Group Challenge happened far too soon in the season. I like it when we have, 6 queens left, 2 groups of 3. Even when we had 8 queens left, 2 groups of 4, it was fine. But to have a group of 5 and then a group of 6 was so much. It was way too much. It was hard to focus on anybody. The stage just felt like so packed with queens. Also, 6 queens took home a win. It seemed like so much. And none of them did a bad job, but there was very clearly queens who were better. Dakota Schiffer, you were the team captain. You led your team to success. You were the solo winner of this challenge. Or LaPhil, you had so much fun on the stage and we loved watching you. You're the winner of this week's challenge. Or Danny Beard, you had the best vocals of your team and had an amazing look on the runway. Congratulate. I could have seen that. But all 6 of them winning was a lot. And especially when you look at the entire episode and you see that Baby was the overall best of this entire challenge. She taught them the choreo. She came up with the choreo. She looked incredible during the performance. Her verse was amazing. She did all the moves. Baby, I think, owned this episode. But because she wasn't on the winning team, there was no chance for her to win the episode. And what I'll say to that is, it makes sense, but they've broken their non-existent rules on how they judge team challenges all the time. literally pink table talks. Eureka, your team did the best, but Ginger, you're gonna win. I think they very easily could have done this for Baby if they wanted to, but they didn't. And, so I understand why people were upset that, Baby really kind of got sidelined despite having such a good performance. I also understand that the show likes to award one song over the other, and, picking someone from the losing song maybe wouldn't have been a good look. I understand, but I really think it would have been a great storyline for Baby, and to kind of break the mold of how they judge these episodes in a way that makes sense, where we've just gone over so many instances where it doesn't make sense. So let me know which group challenge rigging moment had you the angriest. For me, I really think it's Drag Alexa to this day, but going through some of these again, I was like, I hope you all are enjoying UK4. I know I am. If you want more coverage on UK4, you can check out my Patreon, where every week me and Bootsy are doing the rigged recap, where we dive into our thoughts, the riggory, all of it. That is available at the $5 tier. So go check that out if you want, if you are able. We would love the support. Here are the links to all of my social medias. And I just wanted to quickly say thank you so much to everyone who reached out about the Bible Girl video. I have never received such a response for a video before, where I was getting tagged all day, even like the other day, almost a week later, about people who felt so impacted by the discussions that were had in that video. So again, thank you to Bible Girl for coming and doing that. I had so much fun, and I would love to do more videos like that in the future. Yeah, just thank you guys so much. I just really appreciate all the love that I get all the time. But that video in particular, I was not prepared for how much love I was going to be getting. So thank you so much. And I will catch you all in the next one.